Social media is about to change forever. For brands, for creators, for anyone that's using content to build a business. We're entering a brand new era. Now, the good news is there are a bunch of new ways to win that weren't possible before. I know this because I spend all day on the cutting edge of content and marketing. I have 1 million followers, I've done billions of views, and I'm starting to see trends and patterns that are not obvious to the average person that are massive opportunities. So in this video, I'm gonna walk through the 8 biggest social media and content shifts that I see coming over the next few years. And I'll break down both the strategy and the exact tactics that you can use to take advantage right now. Okay, the first shift is a massive one, and this is gonna impact the social media playbook for all brands and creators over the next few years. This is a shift in content strategy from art exhibits to TV networks. Let me explain what I mean. In the previous era, most brands approached social media kind of like an art exhibit. They had their main account, @brand name, and they posted highly curated and aesthetic content, mostly about their products, their customers, and their world with only on-brand graphics. And this @brand name account is their primary hero account. It's their only account. And they're also super active on secondary social features like Instagram stories or DMs. They probably have a social media coordinator in-house that manages this page, but very much behind the scenes. Nobody knows who that creator is. And that whole umbrella that I just described was kind of the core social media brand strategy in the previous era. And by the way, many brands are still following this art exhibit playbook. But for the brands on the cutting edge today, they're doing something completely different. And this is where I think the massive opportunity is. I call this the TV networks approach to social media. Here's how it works. Every brand still has one front door account @brand name for updates and aesthetics. But this account is actually a head fake. It's not designed for growth. It's just a social media landing page with links designed for search intent and for DMs. The real sauce with this new strategy is that every brand will also have at least one R&D account. Call it the content innovation department of that social team. And this really is the head of the snake for the new age social media strategy. This R&D account is going to be run by a young 20s, social native, terminally online person that is studying all the social media formats that are working in the brand space and adjacent spaces. Every post on this R&D account is intentional and a test. 0 guardrails, 0 rules. Now, the only goal for this account is to find winning formulas. So what you have as a brand is this aesthetic art page, churning business as usual, just fine. And then under the surface, this science-based R&D experimental page. Now, when the R&D page gets a successful content test to work at least 3 times, that format is then extracted out and a new channel is formed using only that format. That channel is then added to the overall network. That new channel is then handed to a creator face or a social media manager to run it, depending on if the format is faced or faceless. Essentially, it's kind of like a mini incubated media startup that is spun out and then run separately. And most brands will have social pods that run these new accounts. Each pod can handle multiple different of these secondary accounts. I call this the TV network strategy because brands will start approaching social channels like a TV network. They'll try a bunch of pilots, they'll eventually land on a show that works, they'll greenlight that show and then build an entire series or channel around it. Those shows become series, those series become channels, and those channels become stations in the TV network. The big vision is that every brand builds their own version of NBC, ABC, but socially native on the platforms where their customers spend time. Now, the reason this strategy works in the new era and couldn't work in the previous social era is because we flipped from following to for you. Following only showed content to people that already followed you, so you couldn't run this R&D account without it having followers. You wouldn't be able to get meaningful data if you started it from scratch. For you means the algos will surface good content to viewers regardless of how many followers you have. And this is primed for testing new ideas from scratch on day one. For you also means that brands are no longer punished for a failed content experiment. Because if something doesn't work, it's on a new account and their existing followers will never see it. Here's a more detailed example to illustrate exactly how this would work in practice. Let's say you run a men's personal care brand. We'll call it Axel. You sell soaps, shampoos, deodorant, beard stuff, things like that. You have your @Axel account where you post all the aesthetic imagery and the products and anytime you launch, but if you started adding UGC style tests, it would mess up the feed and the targeting would get all over the place. So let's say you form this R&D account in secret, @LexaTest. Lexa is Axel backwards so nobody knows. And you have this absolutely cracked social engineer that is running the LexaTest account, trying all these different experiments. That social engineer scans the environment and they notice that for other beauty brands, they have this get ready with me format that seems to be working, where someone's at their bathroom mirror talking to it and using the products. So they start testing those formats on the Lexa Test account. They find a more masculine version of the get ready with me that seems to be working, and so they have a validated experiment. You would then take that get ready with me format, extract it out of the Lexa Test account, and create a new secondary brand account at Axel Routines. And that account, Axel Routines, only posts get ready with me versions over and over and over and over. And this is the key. You don't really care if the at Axel Routines account gets a bunch of followers. All you're trying to do is get 1 in 5 videos themselves to pop. When those videos pop, the viewers will click through to the link or trickle back to the parent account at Axel. And you repeat this process over and over and over. The at Axel Routines will eventually build its own little mini cult following, usually around the creator that's posting those get ready with me videos. The R&D account at Lexa Test, after spinning out the get ready with me, will go back to square one and start testing for other formats. The goal as a brand in the future of social media is to have as many verticalized format-specific accounts as possible under your brand umbrella. This is what social engineering is going to look like in the next era, and it's all possible because of For You algorithms. Now here's the truth, there are some brands doing a lightweight version of this today with UGC creators. They pay 100 UGC creators, they all make new accounts, those creators post, the winners get cycled through, they keep the winners, those accounts kind of fit under the umbrella. But there's a huge problem with that. If the UGC creators change course, get disinterested, stop posting content, or get too big and graduate beyond the comp structure, you've then lost that vertical account that was built. Instead, the future is for brands to build their own portfolio of owned accounts under the umbrella. This is where the future of social media is going. Now, what are the opportunities here? Because I told you I was going to talk about the strategy and then the click-for-click tactics for how to actually take advantage. The first thing is that brands need to recognize this is the apex strategy in the current era of social media. The winning playbook is accepting that reality and then hiring for these two roles. The first role is the social architect. This really is the maestro of the whole portfolio. This person can hire, train, and deploy creator content pods against each of the channels as they're spun out. They're the architect, the quarterback, they manage that full portfolio. This is really what I envision the head of social media role will evolve into. The second role is the social scientist. And this is the person that is running that R&D pod. They are deep in the weeds, scanning all sorts of different content, ingesting patterns. They're really good at identifying what's working here, transposing it, and testing it for your use case. If you have those two roles and just 2 people, you can scale your business massively with free organic content. Now, the other opportunity is for young internet native creators that want to learn how the content game is actually played, but they want to do it in an organization where there are stakes and the conversion can actually convert into revenue. This is an amazing opportunity. These roles will be extremely lucrative if you're trained on the full content stack. By the way, if you're a business owner, I think the future of content and marketing is the #1 most important place you should be investing your learning time, because this stuff is changing so fast. If you want to stay ahead of the curve on future of content, future of marketing, then you definitely should be reading my free newsletter. It goes out to 50,000 entrepreneurs, and it's me covering this stuff before it becomes popular. You can subscribe for free at content.game. All right, social media trend #2 that's coming in a big way is AI influencers. And this is a massive opportunity for people who go on offense. Now, when most people hear AI influencer, they envision some sort of like pseudo-human character, something like Little Michaela. And if you've never seen Michaela before, 2.4 million followers, she, or it, has a personality, but immediately to the eye, you know it's not a human. There will be a ton of this type of AI character development, more like Disney style, where you're building character IP and then franchising around. And these can do really well, but I think this is only the tip of what the AI influencer iceberg is going to look like. When I think AI influencers, I imagine human-like characters and personalities that you cannot distinguish from real humans. Like me, for example, right now. Just kidding, I'm not an AI, I promise. But if I wanted to turn myself into an AI, the technology is nearly ready for me to be able to do that, using something like Hedra or HeyGen for the avatar, 11 Labs or Hume for the voice. The tech is very close for you not to be able to tell and for me to be able to be an AI avatar. So this is where things are going. Look-alike, indistinguishable human AI influencers. And I expect social media is going to be full of these AI influencer accounts. They will look human, they will sound human, read like they're human, talk like they're human, and most importantly, influence culture like they're human. So here's the opportunity. Every brand should build 2 types of AI influencers. And to explain this with an example, let's imagine you're an accounting firm that sells tax software to small businesses. Couldn't have picked a more snoozy example, but this will give you a sense for exactly what to do. The first AI influencer that every business should make is a category evangelist. In this case, let's call him Brian the tax accountant. You run the exact same creator strategy that the real Brian the tax accountant would run, but you get to fully dial in his look, his sound, his personality, his likes, his dislikes, where he's from, his story. You get to control the whole thing because Brian isn't real. The second type of AI influencer account that I would make is the buyer lookalike. And this one is less obvious strategically, but this will crush. For this example, you could build Megan, the small business owner that is struggling with her business finances. Instead of just building the solution profile, the tax accountant, you could also build the buyer profile, the small business owner that needs help with their tax accounting. This will accrue trust of your buyer group, other small business owners, which you can then monetize. Now, the beauty of AI influencers is that you're going to be able to literally print them on demand. You could have dozens in each category. And I'd estimate the technology is probably 4 to 6 months away from it being game day ready, where you really can't tell the difference. I predict that every business is going to have a bunch of these AI influencers, and those will all be separate accounts that also roll up to the master network. All right, before we go on, just one quick note. If you're a business owner and this is the first time you're hearing about some of these concepts, you definitely want to make sure you're tapped into the future of where AI and content is merging. This intersection, AI plus content, AI plus marketing, it's where I'm spending every hour of my time because I think this is the single biggest lever that you can pull to grow your business in the future. I actually built a free community for business owners that has a bunch of different trainings about the future of content. We have over 22,000 entrepreneurs that are in there, all helping each other level up their content and stay up to date on what is going on. It's called Wavy World. I've got a free invite for you if you want to join below. All right, social media shift number 3 is the Great Divergence. And this maps to how I think you should play social media as AI content starts to ramp up. Like I mentioned, if I was running a brand, I would be printing AI influencers to target every single customer avatar that I had. And as brands and individual creators start doing this and we start increasing the total amount of content that's out there, we're gonna start seeing a convergence towards the same winning formats. Winning formats are essentially the visual and story structure that are common patterns across the content that is working. So for example, if 5 of the top 10 fitness accounts are all making the same kind of content, AI is going to be able to pattern match, and then those AI influencers will also start making that type of content. And this will create a mass convergence where everything on the feed looks the same. Now, with every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so what this means is that once you start seeing this convergence, I predict there will be a divergence by the human actors that are still left playing. Instead of one common format, I'm talking about wild colors, crazy structures, experiments, insane stuff that you've never seen. Because as the AI feed converges on one thing, human actors will have every reason to just start experimenting at the edges. And this maps kind of broadly to the conversation of human taste versus generic AI. Essentially, all taste is the ability to be different in a way that still resonates with people. And so I think we're going to enter this great divergence, an era of wild experimentation and crazy stuff working because it's the only thing that cuts through on the feed. An example to help explain this would be from Andrew Schultz, the comedian. Some may say my brother from another mother. During the pandemic, he pioneered a new format where he told people to turn their phone, and that allowed him to deliver his mini monologues and sketches a bit better. He was the first one to ever do that. That was an example of wild experimentation on the edges. Now imagine that level of crazy experimentation times 1,000. I think that's what we're going to start seeing. So if you're watching this, what is the big opportunity for you? The opportunity, if you're a creator or a brand, is to lean heavy into this divergence early. Crazy formats, wild colors, things that look out of place on the feed. And this goes hand in hand with the point I made earlier about TV networks as the strategy. Social R&D scientists are going to finally be able to go full Rambo and test wild ideas. And those brands and creators that are the earliest to doing this are going to get rewarded heavily as the feed starts to converge. All right, let's move on to social media shift number 4. And for this one, let's say you don't buy my TV network social strategy and you're just like, nah, there's no way, brands will only ever stick with one account. Well, even if that ends up being true, what they all will do is hire this social architect role in-house to completely transform the way they attack social media. Brands are starting to wake up to the fact that social media is not some reactive billboard for aesthetic product shots. It's their most valuable growth channel that can actually be engineered. Because of this, big corporations are starting to hire creators in-house, and they are paying them a ton. I call this role creator in residence. Now, there are two big examples of this I just saw. For one, Starbucks is hiring a global coffee creator that will travel all around the world and make content. And John Deere just announced their first ever chief tractor officer, an in-house creator they're paying $175,000 per year. And this is just the beginning. Every major brand is going to hire young 20-something creators in-house and give them full carte blanche to go crazy on rebuilding their social strategy from the inside. They will stop paying overpriced social media agencies and bring it in-house. All right, so what's the opportunity here if you're watching? Again, if you're an internet native, ambitious creator, this could be your dream role to learn the content game on someone else's dime while you grow your accounts on the side. If you want to land one of these positions, the best way to do so is start proactively making content on your own channels and then tagging the brands that you want to work with. The other opportunity to take advantage of this whole creator in residence movement is to do what my friend JT Barnett is doing with Creator X. He essentially runs a recruiting agency that helps these brands find creator in residences. Now, he has a long wait list of clients because he's so good, but if you want to cut the line and just go straight to the top and actually work with him, I have a link here and I'll send him over. Again, this is specifically if you are a brand and want to place that in-house creator as your creator in residence. All right, the fifth social media shift is about the content funnel and specifically long-form content formats. The future of organic content is really just an extended nurture sequence designed to get fans to the longest form content possible. Because long form video is the deep waters where you really turn fans into forever buyers. Now, creators have figured out that the best way to ascend fans down that funnel is to use short form formats to get them into their ecosystem and then slowly nurture them into things like YouTube channels, podcasts, and other long form shows. And this is so valuable and works because of the framework around content minutes. Essentially, in order to turn a stranger into a superfan, you need them to consume a certain amount of minutes of your content. Long-form shows grow that minutes total quicker because people watch for chunks at a time. The TLDR is, if you want fans to turn into buyers, you want them to spend as much time with your content as possible. Brands are just starting to come around to the fact that this short-form to long-form ramp is optimal. And so the non-obvious point here is that the long-form content format tail is just getting longer and longer. And what I mean by that is formats like live streaming and social shopping are really starting to pop. It is the long tail of the long end of content. Short form, YouTube, podcast, live stream social shopping on the far end. And these are formats where fans have the opportunity to interact with their favorite brands and creators for hours and hours at a time. I'm seeing platforms like Whatnot, which is social shopping in the US that feels straight out of Asia, do insane numbers. And I think we haven't even scratched the surface of what B2B live streams and B2B social shopping really could look like. For example, if you sell B2B SaaS to insurance companies, why not host a live show where you bring your clients, CEOs of insurance companies onto the show to chop it up, talk about their issues, and demo some of the products in the industry? These conversations are typically held behind closed doors, very stuffy, but I think once somebody breaks through to this B2B live stream space, it's gonna go gangbusters. Again, the reason these super long form content formats work so well is just the content minute math. Okay, so if this is the shift, what are the tactical opportunities here? For brands, if you're the first to market in either of these content formats for your category, live streaming or social shopping, you have complete green field. You can dominate the format. And for creators that prefer to make content in this live, longer form way, streaming, social shopping, we have not even scratched the surface on what creator to brand marketplace looks like for those formats. There is a huge opportunity here on both sides. I'm telling you, don't sleep on these super long form formats. The brands that figure these out, they're gonna be rewarded handsomely. All right, social media shift number 6 is about the future of devices, the actual hardware that we consume social media on. As someone that spends most of my time trying to help business owners figure out how to win the social media game, this is something I spend a lot of time thinking about. Today, almost everyone is consuming video content on a mobile phone. We all know this. But in the next 5 years, I think we're gonna see 2 additional hardware mediums emerge in addition to the phone. And these are gonna be total opposites of each other. One of them is gonna be AR glasses. Now, Meta pioneered this with the Meta Ray-Bans. Google just announced their AR glasses. I'm sure Apple's gonna release AR glasses in like 2030. And there are tons of independent companies trying to crack this AR smart glass market as well. And basically what AR glasses do is create an infinite screen. When you wear AR glasses, the world becomes a canvas and the tech in the glasses make everything the screen. Are people gonna be vertically scrolling videos on AR glasses? I don't think so. So the big question is, what will be the new video medium that emerges for that format? Nobody knows yet exactly because we're so early. Now, I mentioned there were two new devices that were opposites of each other. AR glasses are one, the phone is in the middle. What is the other one? On the other side, you've got OpenAI teaming up with Johnny Ive to create what many think is a screenless puck. Imagine a smooth hockey puck with a camera and no screen. And this sounds like a toy that nobody will use, but if that thing becomes popular and the main way to consume with it is audio, just via voice because there's no screen, well, that will completely change the way people have to think about making content. These are the types of things you want to be thinking about if you're a business owner looking for opportunities. Both of these devices will come to market at mass scale, and then you're also going to have the phone. So now business owners are going to have to create content for 3 modalities, not just one. All right, so what is the tactical play? If you buy what I'm saying, what's the opportunity? Like with every new medium and format, the real opportunity is for the business owners and creators that can be first to play and experiment with these things as they come out. Now, I'm trying to be one of the earliest people to tell you about this. So in this case, there is no immediate action because both of those formats are not supporting native content yet. But the opportunity and the action is to constantly be monitoring for when those come out and then jump on them when they do. Okay, social media shift number 7 is actually bigger than all the others. This is about the future of developing products and how social content has a role in that. And I haven't heard anybody talking about this. Up until now, companies made physical products using this general order of operations. First, they looked at what the market wanted. Then they spent a few weeks going back and forth with the factory trying to get a sample or prototype made. Then they try to market that initial prototype to see if there's any traction. Then they use that feedback to iterate the prototype, they order the product, and then they make content and start selling. So the general flow was mock-up to sample product to content to revise sample product and then to sale. And this process has a few drawbacks. The biggest one being the company doesn't actually know if the market will buy their product while they spend all these weeks and months and cost trying to build out the sample prototypes. Well, the future of product development enabled by AI is going to look a little bit different. The order of operations in the future is going to look more like this. First, the companies again will look at the market and try to figure out what they want. But then they'll use AI product development software to mock up a product with hundreds of variants automatically. They'll then use AI content to create fake models and place those products in. So they're making content before the product is made. They'll use the data on that content to figure out what people actually want. Then they'll mock up a sample and then ultimately sell it. So the flow becomes mock-ups to content to sample product to sale. And this sounds like a small change, but it completely inverts the product risk curve for a business. They don't have to make products until they know people will buy them. And that pre-product validation is enabled because of the speed of AI product design and AI content. I recently made a video covering a software that does this rapid AI product development. It's called Virtue 3D, and it was pretty mind-blowing. Essentially, in just a couple days, a brand can make hundreds of variations and get feedback on those through AI content without having to spend a single dollar on product. And so the opportunity for this one is pretty clear. If you make physical products, you want to sprint to using these tools immediately so you can cut out all the time and money risk in the process and validate those products first. All right, social media and content shift number 8 is world building. And this is my favorite one hands down. We're shifting from an era of images and videos to an era of interactive and immersive worlds. This demo on the screen came out a couple weeks ago from a company called 4DV out of China. It's an innovation in video content that uses a technique called 4D Gaussian splatting, which basically turns any video into a 4D immersive experience that a viewer could step into. And as soon as I saw this, I realized that the future of the internet for creators and brands is going to be immersive world building. But this isn't world building in the traditional sense with similar colors and fonts and graphic design. This is world building meaning actual worlds, places that fans and customers can step inside of and immerse themselves in. This example from 4DV renders in the browser. You don't need any extra hardware, no VR glasses. This is straight on the computer. But when you think about combining this type of technology with those AR glasses, the world's your oyster. Now, the common thread of opportunity is if you're a brand or creator, it's super valuable to be on the edges and have a perspective on these types of emerging technologies when they come out. For a brand, and again, I sound like a broken record, you want to adopt these early and be one of the first people to play with the new surface. For a creator, if you want to make a ton of money quickly, just go to brands that haven't been thinking about world building and become a world designer, where you work with them together to create worlds. Now, I'll admit, a lot of the stuff I mentioned in this video were very future forward. Things are starting to bubble, but they're not all here just yet. The strategies like TV networks, those work right now, but some of the things like the future of hardware, the AI puck, immersive world building, we are just scratching the surface for what these things might be able to be. Like I said, my goal with this channel is to both give you explicit tactics for how to make your content better tomorrow, but also paint the strategy and vision for where things are going so that you have an advantage. But if you're a fan of my videos, you know that when we get to the end of the list in the title, we're never quite done. There's always some extra points. So for these last 2 points, I want to talk through 2 tactical, explicit strategies that you could make tomorrow to improve your chances of winning on social media. And this isn't the future. These are immediate strategies that will work right now. All right, strategy number 1, or shift number 9, is the change that's happening in earned media and the playbook you can run right now to unlock tons of free traffic. I call this launch for coverage. The nature of organic social media right now is that creators see opportunities to cover news stories in their category as a way to get a ton of views, grow their following, and ultimately monetize. So that means lots of great creators are looking for crazy, wild, and out there stories that they can cover that they know will get traction. And they will make content on those stories for free. I do this with tech and AI all the time. Knowing this as a brand, your job should be to engineer low-cost but high virality stunts that initiate this free organic wave. This is earned media for free to the nth degree. Now, a good example of this, and one I wanted to mention right here, is what Dr. Squatch did with Sydney Sweeney. Dr. Squatch is a men's personal care brand. Sydney Sweeney, obviously the famous actor. Dr. Squatch sold Sydney's bathwater in soap bars. There were 5,000 of them, limited edition, and they sold out immediately. But the underlying marketing strategy was this launch for coverage, and they played it perfectly. The point of them doing this wasn't the revenue from those bars, and it wasn't even about the cost that they spent to get Sydney Sweeney. What it was about is triggering the mob to create free earned media, free organic content about Dr. Squatch and drive all those millions of free impressions to the brand. Hat tip to Hormozy for talking about this story. This was a brilliant marketing example. This is what free earned media looks like in this era. So if you run social media or marketing for a brand, the opportunity is this. You should be figuring out what shots on goal you can take to rev that free earned media swell. And if you do it, it could change your brand overnight. All right, the last tactical suggestion for taking advantage of social media is to build an affiliate training bootcamp. Affiliate marketing has obviously been around for a while, so that on its own is not new. But how they typically work is that brands make the program, affiliates join, and then those people are on their own to figure out how to make content to get clicks, to drive sales, to get that affiliate revenue. But here's what could be innovated. There's a massive opportunity for brands that know what they're doing with content to build in-house training programs to train those affiliates to make better content and drive more conversion. The best companies should be spending millions to educate their affiliates. Their affiliates' content performs better, they're happier, they make more, and you make more. So I am about to launch a program for this for our affiliates at sandcastles.ai. For any creators that join our program and become an affiliate and they post the minimum amount about sandcastles.ai, I'm going to offer a free training that helps them learn how to make better content. And this program obviously helps us because the affiliate revenue for Sandcastles goes up, but more so, it helps the creators because they get a skill set that they can monetize with every other brand. So if you want to join this program for Sandcastles and you're a creator that actually uses it and will post about it, fill out this form. And if you're running a brand where affiliate marketing matters, you should look at this strategy as well. All right, guys, that is all I've got for this video. As a recap, these are the social shifts, predictions, and opportunities that we covered. Number 1 is the future of social media strategy as TV networks. We talked about how to set them up and which roles to hire for that are most important. Number 2 was AI influencers. We talked about how to tackle which tools to use to make them and which of the 2 AI influencer profiles each brand should make. Number 3, we talked about the great divergence, this incoming trend where AI converges and then humans diverge to wacky, crazy, and creative content. Number 4, we talked about creators in residence, which are going to be the hottest role in-house for content and content strategy for big companies over the next 12 to 24 months. Number 5, we talked about the content funnel and the long tail for super long-form content like live streaming and social shopping. Number 6, we talked about the future of hardware devices, AR glasses, screens, and the AI puck, screenless, and the future of 3 content mediums, those 2 in the phone, and how businesses will have to create across all 3. Number 7, we talked about the future of product development and how to rapidly iterate products and AI content without having to spend money and time on samples. And number 8, world building. We talked about how the best brands are going to start building immersive worlds for their customers and fans to play in. We also covered earned media hacks like Dr. Squatch and Sydney Sweeney, as well as affiliate training boot camps and what we're doing with Sandcastles to take advantage of that. As usual, I spend a ton of time on these videos and I try my best to bring an original perspective, something you don't always hear every day. So if you like this type of video and you think I did a good job, please leave a comment and let me know so I know to make more videos like this. And guys, remember, there's a ton of free stuff in the description, so make sure to take advantage of that, and we will see you guys on the next one. Peace.